Hi guys, Will here from WB Trading. Thanks again for joining me here on the YouTube channel today, much appreciated. So if you're struggling with stop loss placement and you haven't quite mastered the art just yet, I'm hoping this video will really add value for you and help you with doing so going forward. Now, before we dive into some examples within the markets, I want to start by saying that there is of course no hard and fast rule, and from time to time you're going to place a stop well and get stopped out, and on the other side of this you're going to place a stop badly and get away with it. Much like in all areas of trading, there's just no one rule. And also, this is purely what I've learned from my own experience, so there's absolutely no saying that this is definitive in any way. And I also just want to add that if you're an experienced trader and you've been trading for a few years, whether you're profitable yet or not, you'll likely know a lot of what I'm about to touch on. But that said, give the video a watch and hey, you might well learn something. There's always more to be learned, isn't there, within trading, and as obviously we all approach the market somewhat differently. So with that said, let's get into it. Now, the first thing I want to mention is that when you're placing a stop, the first two things you need to consider are A, are you taking a shorter term trade or a longer term trade? And B, how volatile is the market that you're trading? So is it a market like, let's say, the DAX that jumps around, spikes up and down and so on? Or is it a market like the FTSE that's, slightly calmer, moves far less points each day and so on? Because this will of course suggest how careful you need to be when placing a stop. So let's look at a couple of examples. Firstly, beware of noise. So what do I mean by this? Well, just look at how tricky this range looks. In particular, where would you have placed a stop here? In this situation, it's key to firstly be aware of where other traders' stop losses are building up and avoid these levels. And in a noisy market environment, it's always helpful to cast stops wider than you might typically to keep you in the trades that you want to be a part of. Following on from this, let's talk about liquidity. Now, markets seek liquidity in most scenarios, so it's crucial that we avoid the most obvious levels. Or alternatively, we should wait potentially for price probes, wait for the massive stops to be taken, and then join the move. And if you haven't already noticed this happen, this might just be a key turning point for you as this happens time and again. We see these clean, untested new price levels. A huge amount of perhaps inexperienced traders will be caught short. The stops will be above the high. These will get taken, and what happens next? We move down in the intended direction, or vice versa, of course, if you're long. Finally, figure out where you are completely wrong on the trade you're about to take, as this is where your stop should really be. Now, this has actually saved my bacon, to put it politely, a few times now. And what I mean by this is there are always going to be quite a few different places where a stop loss could well be placed, but usually most of these places don't actually invalidate your trade. Let's say you're getting short here, and let's say you place a stop here. This then gets taken out here, and what happens? Price moves in the intended direction. Always look out for a level that, if price visits, you're definitely wrong on the trade, i.e. a significant key swing point in the market, for example. That said, I have to say this more so applies to longer term positions where it's necessary to actually allow the market to breathe. So again, the above is certainly not written in stone, and of course stop placement has to fall in line with your strategy's win rate and average R achieved. Let's take a closer look at an example via DAX. Now, if you know me, you know the DAX is a market I've put my focus on for a long time now, and what we're looking at here is a rounded retest that took place on Wednesday just gone, and a trader I'm working with at the moment actually alerted me to this setup after spotting it on a H1 chart. So let's take a closer look at the setup. What we're looking at is this previous low, 11513. And what we were looking for is a rejection on a revisitation of this level and for price to subsequently reverse, and it's exactly what we got. But where would your stop have been? Well, let's move over to the M5 chart on the left and take a closer look at market structure. As you can see, I've highlighted a value zone here and I've incorporated the previous low. I looked at where price then bounced up to before coming back, pausing and continuing upwards. And I've also incorporated this area where price paused, bounced around temporarily, and then carried on down. And this gives us our value zone. What happens when this is revisited? Supply is absorbed and price moves away as expected. Now, back to where we might place a stop loss. The two locations I'll be looking at are this previous spike high here and this high over here, and either would have worked. Going back to what I was saying earlier in regards to placing a stop where you're definitely wrong, we could well have been unlucky here and got stopped out in both of these places, and again at times this will happen. It's just the nature of the market, but that's a fairly black and white example of a successful trade playing out in real time. Now again, don't get me wrong, the guidance I've just shared and the points I've made certainly work and they will certainly help, but as ever, they're not set in stone, so take them all with a pinch of salt because they'll work well most times, but don't be annoyed if, again, you place a stop extremely well on Monday morning and you get stopped out. It happens, but keep the above in mind and it will certainly save you bacon like it has mine on many an occasion. So that's all from me, guys. I hope you enjoyed the short video today. I really hope this helps you all in the future, and if you do need me for anything, please do feel free to drop me an email and I'm always happy to help. Thanks, guys.